Good morning, everybody. This is James Carr trying to broadcast here with a view of the garden, which is a little harder to see now that I'm actually live. All right, so we are gonna move back inside with the Wi-Fi. No more garden, sadly. Flannery is here in the chat. We are gonna bring her on in 1 second once I get repositioned with better internet so that we can actually host this. Nothing like learning while live. But for everybody who's joining us, this is the Monday Morning Gardener Show. We are hosting this with our friends Fred and Flannery, who are our in-house garden experts. Flannery is going to be joining me today. We've got a bunch of questions from our good friend Brittany and her family. We're going to help them with their gardening problems. And of course, we're here every week to help you with your gardening questions. So if you have any questions for our garden experts, please send us a direct message. You can leave us a comment on one of our posts about Monday Morning Gardener, or you can send us an email to gardens@foodwellalliance.org. We're also going to be creating a little Q&A page on our website, so please send us your questions. We'd love to help you as you go along your gardening journey. So I'm going to bring on Flannery so that we can get to the real deal and answer some of these questions. Can we answer a fruit question in the meantime? Fred, we can't answer fruit preserve questions, but since the woman of the hour is here, we're going to proceed with gardening questions. Flannery, what's happening?
Oh, hi.
It's so good to see you.
Yeah, this is my first Instagram Live, so this is very exciting.
It is very exciting. How do you feel, because on Zoom, you really like to have custom backgrounds. How do you feel without the custom background right now?
Yeah, I feel pretty vulnerable. Your room is your castle, and I got a lot of books in here.
Yeah, no, that's true. I got a few hanging out over there as well. What's up, Sarah? Nice to see you. All right, Flannery. Just to get started, since this is kind of the first episode, I mean, I kind of think most people who are watching this probably know who you are and what you do. But for anybody who doesn't, can you just tell us a little bit about your role here at Foodwell and also just in the local food system in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a shout out to my sister. Pay attention to this in case our parents ask later. So my name is Flannery. I'm the volunteer and outreach coordinator at Foodwell Alliance, and I have the privilege of getting to help connect volunteers with different community gardens around the city. I've seen some of those community gardens on here now, so that's great. The really cool community gardens are generally sustained by their own community. People come and grow food there, and it's a really cool space, but sometimes they need a little extra assistance with knocking out some tasks. So in that instance, we get to invite some volunteers out, help them with that labor. The volunteers get to experience the gardens and the cool stuff happening there, and there's a lot of education that gets to take place around kind of the benefits and the work involved with it.
Yeah, and obviously we haven't. Wait, what was that last bit? I missed it.
Well, I said I get to be there to make sure they don't do weird stuff.
Or do weird stuff in a controlled way.
Yeah, but that's better.
Yeah. And then just obviously we haven't been able to do as many or any volunteer events this year, which is sad, but we have done some great community garden work. I was wondering if you could just give everyone a little overview of how your position has changed in the last couple of months and how it is you're supporting gardens right now.
Yeah, I mean, we have transitioned away from using volunteers and community gardens to keep folks safe. But we have pivoted from using volunteer labor to being able to use myself, Fred, who you may have seen last week, as well as some other community members who are skilled to go out to gardens and provide some of the mechanical support that volunteers might be able to help with other times.
Yep. And it's been a crazy pivot. We certainly hope that we can get out to volunteer in a safe way sometime soon, but we will keep everybody posted about that. Obviously, things are changing every day, so hard to say when we'll be back, but we certainly would like to be. So, with that being said, it's time to get into the gardening questions. We wanted to give a shout out to Brittany Burkhartsmeyer and her family, who have submitted many, many questions this week. We will be answering 3 questions each week, so please submit your questions. Brittany's family is now capped out for the whole series, so that's it for them. But everyone else, it's your time to shine. So the first question we've got is about larger garden pests, squirrels, rabbits. Now, actually, I'm going to skip that one because we did do a little bit about larger garden pests last week with Fred, but this is more about smaller garden pests as well. Spiders, caterpillars, gnats. Do you have any recommendations for natural and organic ways at keeping those kind of pests away?
Well, that's a great question. So unfortunately, insects will probably always be a part of your organic garden. I know in the instance of spiders, they tend to be more terrifying to people than detrimental to your garden. So with that one, there's probably not a lot you want to do to remove them, unless they're like physically crawling on you. They help control other insect populations and are generally pretty beneficial to the garden ecosystem there. If you're concerned about like venomous spiders, they tend to like little dark hiding places. So if you can eliminate some of those by cleaning regularly and making sure spaces aren't good hiding spots, then you should be able to cut down and just wear gloves when you're working. I think caterpillars are a little trickier because they've got to eat food. That's like what they do. It's their thing. And we all like them when they're butterflies. So it's kind of a tricky in between. I'd say if there's a non-native species that's hanging out in your garden, and you can identify those using apps or looking up stuff through your extension agent, you can definitely just manually remove those, and if you're feeling up for it, kill them. But then if they're native, you might just want to manually remove them from your plants and move them away from to something else you'd prefer they nibble on. Yeah. And then what was the other one?
Gnats.
Oh, fun. Good luck. So they're just hanging out in the garden. It's probably more of a nuisance to you than anything, kind of like the spiders. But if they really get clingy, like with one of your plants, you can use insecticidal soap. There's a lot of descriptors of how you would do that. I'm not going to go into all the details, but generally you'd use something like unscented Dr. Bronner's and a combination of like oil and some other stuff. Spray it on there, and it helps keep them from affixing or sticking to your plants. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I think there are a lot of like natural kind of sprays you can use too, like peppermint kind of leaves or even rosemary too. So, especially more of the like stronger aromatic varieties can often help deter certain pests.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, especially about the spiders though. I think really key. I think you're exactly right that they kind of look scarier, and also if they're like literally crawling on you, it can feel weird, all the legs, but they're probably helping the garden.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the spiders.
Yeah, I'm like a medium fan. You know.
They're one of the coolest looking ones and harmless.
Yeah. I do really like I think they're obviously there's more scientific name than garden spider, but they leave like that really thick web, or the pattern with the web. Yeah. Okay. We are going to go to the next question, which is sort of similar. It's not really about pests, but it's about weeds. Weed deterrent. Weeding is obviously a huge part of gardening. Do you have any preferred weed deterrent measures? It does look like I don't know, it says natural and organic, so I'm not sure if if pulling them out counts as a method. Certainly is one, but beyond simply weeding, do you have any advice on weed deterrent?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, with weeds, the best thing you can do is spend all of your time in the garden getting rid of them. Your job doesn't pay you to do that. There are some better ways and preventative measures. So I think one of the best ways to not have to worry so much about weeds during your growing season would be to weed really thoroughly before you plant, and then use some kind of mulch or preventative measure to keep that from growing back up. And mulches can be, wood chips, but you can also use cardboards and newspaper, stuff like that. There's a lot of options, grass clippings if they haven't been treated. And that'll just help save you some labor in the long run. They shouldn't be like piled on there, and you always want to leave a little space around your plant so your plant doesn't get choked out. But otherwise, pretty effective. If you feel like you need to turn to chemical options for weed removal, you want to look for stuff that's OMRI certified or labeled. So that's the Organic Materials Review Institute. They generally are used as kind of an across-the-board certification for something that would be considered organic. It'd be especially important if your garden or farm was certified, but it's just a good thing to look out for and generally what you would recommend. Yeah. Another good thing, too, I guess, is if you're having a lot of trouble with weeds and you are composting your weeds, you might want to consider not doing that or making sure your compost pile is getting up to high enough temperatures, 130, 150 range, I think, to keep it from cooking or not cooking off the weed seeds in there.
Yeah. Something that I always keep in mind when talking about weeds is, going back to your point, that nature really wants a ground cover of some kind. Like, it doesn't like bare soil being exposed to the sun and the elements. So if you don't do some weeding in the front and then add mulch, something's coming up, because Mother Nature is looking for that layer of protection. So it's best if you can just go ahead and supply that protection, and that way you don't have to worry about tons and tons of weeds.
Yeah.
So we've got another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to add, so I know a lot of people will use like weed fabrics to lay down. I think those can be really good if you're like keeping a bed empty during the season or not using it, but can be tricky to navigate around when you're planting. And if you put them on an in-ground area, it can create kind of an issue if you till it up later, because they will get sucked into your tiller.
Oh, yes. Good point.
Or more, sucked into Fred's tiller, so.
Yeah. Fred hates when that happens, so please. All right, we got a last question of the day, and this maybe reveals Brittany's family's Florida presence, because we will not be harvesting peppers for a little while. But they want to know about peppers, and how do you know when to pick them? Do you let them turn red on the vine, or should you pick them first and then let them turn maybe in a window that's getting some sun? What's your advice on harvesting peppers and the right time to do so?
Ooh, yeah. So if you're growing red bell peppers, I don't think it's like wrong to harvest them when they are green, but they won't really continue to turn once they're off the vine. While they're staying on the vine, they're generally, if they're actually a red or orange or yellow variety, they're thickening up a little bit more, but they're also getting a lot more vitamin C and sweetness. So keeping them on the vine longer will help them kind of get those nutrients they need to acquire that. So you want to wait until they're pretty fully red. A lot of peppers turn red, even if they're not like intentionally grown for that. So you'll see like your hot peppers starting to turn red, and that will mean that they're going to get super hot. So depending on how much you want to cry, you can harvest them. But yeah, no, for the red and green bell peppers, you want to harvest them when they're in full color of the color that you would like, unless there's extenuating circumstances like a frost coming or something like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Hopefully we don't have to worry about frosts coming for a little while. That's something we don't need at the moment. But definitely. Yeah, really good point. This is just because I've heard something. I think it was about apples. Someone was telling me about like an enzyme that develops in the last 2 weeks of it being on the vine, and a lot of times when you're getting it from a store, it's been harvested way before it was ripe, and so you don't get those enzymes. But is that in like the last couple of weeks of getting ripe, is that typically for many fruits a period of gaining like those last essential vitamins, or is that am I just making connections between things that aren't real?
time on the vine, like normally, or on the plant. Like when I would look at a plant, I would look for other indicators as to ripeness. So I'm not really sure. Like I wouldn't if I left a perfectly ripe tomato on a vine for like an additional amount of time, it would get eaten by a squirrel or a human, or it would begin to rot because vision. So I do know that things eaten soon after they're harvested, with a few exceptions, tend to have a lot more nutrients, and so that's pretty important. I know, like with sugar snap peas and stuff, you want to eat them snappy, otherwise they will suck those nutrients and flavor.
Yep. No, definitely. Nothing beats fresh off the vine. All right. Well, those were our 3 questions of the week, but I actually had a bonus question last week, and I forgot to ask Fred. And the question was, what is Fred's favorite color? And I was wondering, as someone who works very closely with Fred, do you know the answer to this question?
Okay, that's a hard one. My thought would be like a solid khaki, because that is his favorite wardrobe staple. But I also think he maybe resonates with the old food bank blue that's on our van. The kind of, it's a nice color, but it's also a sign of like how long he's been doing this work and doing the stuff, and it's also a universally flattering color, more so than the more updated orange. Yeah, no, I can't be held responsible for the integrity of them.
All right, well, thank you so much for your insight, Flannery. I know you've got a busy week coming up, so I don't want to take any more of your time, but thank you so much for answering these questions on behalf of Brittany's family. And we will look to continue doing this every Monday. I actually think we're going to take next Monday off for Memorial Day, but we'll be back in 2 weeks with our in-house gardening experts answering your gardening questions. So please feel free to email us, send us your questions, and we will help you on your gardening journey. Appreciate your time, Flannery. It was good to see you, and we will catch y'all soon. Oh, wait. The last word. I forgot to give you the last word. I even prepped you to say the last word, and then I almost took it from you. Flannery, please leave our kind audience members with some last words of maybe wisdom or maybe just words.
No, yeah, this is definitely, it's wisdom coming from one of the great philosophers, Joe Dirt, who said that garden, dig it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I caught that and made that work. All right, thanks so much, Flannery. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.